Welcome back, everybody. I have found new information about the new Kazeria project. Previously, I've covered about this, and I found brand new information that I feel like is worthy of a share. So let's get started. Alrighty, welcome back. So I recently discovered this account on X, or formerly known as Twitter. And this account named Professor Jiang. One second, I have to double check his name. Professor Jiang Chin. Okay. And he was talking about Pax Judaica. I find that very interesting. He was talking about Israel and how they are trying to conquer the Middle East and how the West is going to do whatever they can to go to war with multiple different countries and they will self destruct themselves. And in the end, Israel will end up becoming the major power of the world. That is his prediction. I disagree with this notion, but he also brings out many important points that I feel will be relevant, okay, in the future. I don't disagree with him 100%. There are parts of what he is saying that is relevant and I feel like it's going to happen, but also there are some parts where I feel like he probably misses a little bit of he did his focus is a little bit wrong in my opinion. Okay, I could be wrong at the end of the day. This is just my opinion. So I'm going to play you this clip. So I will provide my commentary later as per usual. Okay, so let's get started.
The main enemy right now is Iran. In Europe, you have the Europeans about to go to war with Russia in Ukraine. America right now is threatening to attack Venezuela, okay? South America. You have 10% of the US Navy in the Caribbean, and they're about to attack Venezuela. You have China and Japan at conflict. You have India here, and you have Africa. Okay? So what's going to happen in the short term? Okay, well, what we know is that Europe is planning to go to war with Russia. At the same time, you have a lot of immigrants in Europe. And this is going to create civil wars in Europe. Okay, civil war. So you have both war with Russia as well as civil war. So Europe is kind of screwed, okay? America has the same situation where the left-right divide is so polarized that eventually they'll go to war. If you read the news, you may have heard about the shootings at Brown University, as well as this MIT physicist who were shot, okay? So random violence will be more and more common in the United States. And you can argue that's all deliberate because the idea is this. Let's just say you have a jar. You put red ants in a jar and black ants in a jar. They get along fine. But you take the jar and you just shake it up, and now they're at war with each other, okay? That's what's happening where the left and right, they really don't like each other. They don't talk to each other, and they refuse to engage in debate with each other. But they're not going to fight each other unless there's violence. In which case, their tribal mentality takes over and they start killing each other, okay? So we're gonna expect civil war in the United States. Then you're gonna have the Americans start to attack Venezuela and possibly other countries in South America. America is in for a bad time, okay? China, yeah, I mean, Japan and China and India, they're all gonna have conflicts with each other. But also what we should expect is that America starts to embargo China, meaning America uses its sea power to block China from accessing resources from overseas. And China imports most of its oil and a lot of its food. So if there's a blockade of China, you can expect the Chinese economy to really suffer, okay? And then what we can expect to happen is America at some point will go to war with Iran. And this will destroy both countries. Okay? Iran will not lose this war, but it won't win this war either because America is just going to bomb the crap out of Iran. It's just going to send Iran back decades. But America will lose this war, but this is important because if America loses this war, it's forced out of the Middle East. And once it's forced out of the Middle East, all its military assets goes to Israel, which creates the Pax Judaica. Yeah, does that make sense, guys? That's the plan. Okay, now you have Pax Judaica. And what Pax Judaica will do is start to control the world, because through chaos and conflict, Pax Judaica can make a lot of money, right? Because Pax Judaica, what's going to happen is that you have these technology companies like Google, they're going to move over to Pax Judaica and build a global surveillance state. You have civil wars, you need AI to control people. If you're going to war with Russia, you need weapons, okay? But you also need financing as well. So you can expect a lot of banks to move to Israel, and it's possible Israel becomes now the global reserve currency because everyone is trading with Israel. If you're Russia, you need to trade you need to trade your resources, right? Oil, energy, and grain, okay? So Russia controls a third of the world's carbohydrates. Guess what, guys? Israel controls Africa. So what will happen is that Russia and other countries will sign a trade agreement with Israel, and Israel becomes the center of global trade. Okay? Does that make sense? So this is how Pax Judaica will profit. And remember that Israel has the world's best intelligence agency, the Mossad. And what they can do is go around the world and create as much chaos as possible. Okay? So while the world is burning, Israel, Pax Judaica, is profiting. And that's what the future looks like for the next 10, 20 years.
So here the professor said a couple of very interesting things, okay? Like the term Pax Judaica. I find that very interesting. And also he brought up some points about how the world is going to war with each other, which I do believe that the world is going to war with each other, okay? I mean, like, at this point, I mean, like, it's telling already, right? The US is going to go to war with Venezuela, probably will cause a regional war in the future. I mean, like, they're talking about invading Canada, Mexico, Greenland. I mean, like, the US has become a pariah state, just like how Israel has been a pariah state, okay? And then he also bring out a very interesting perspective that the Europeans are going to go to war with Russia, because we have seen that the US has been unwilling to continue this war. Okay, they have been pushing for this peace agreement, but Europe at the same time doesn't want a peace agreement for whatever reason. Okay, so probably the Europeans will go to war with Russia. Okay, probably. And then there's also the Iran-Israel crisis. And it's interesting that he was saying that there will be a civil war in Europe and also in the US in the future. I think it's very telling. I feel like the crisis is going to go up and up. And it seems like the government is really aiding into this because, for example, the Charlie Kirk case, nothing about the official narrative makes any sense, okay? I think Candace always did a really good job with it. I mean, like, it's obvious this is a military operations, but who are they putting in front as their patsy? A gay guy. Liberal gay guy, okay? So as you can see, they're trying to play the divide and conquer game again, left versus right, liberal versus conservative. And at the same time, this war with Venezuela, and who knows, maybe there's going to be war with Mexico, Canada, and so on, it's going to create a lot worse refugee crisis than what is already been experiencing in America right now, okay? I can guarantee you tens of millions more is going to come, okay? So I don't see how a civil war is not going to happen. It is going to happen, especially in America. And at the same time, in Europe, you have all this out of control Muslim migration who could not assimilate with the local Europeans. So I feel like the problem is going to continue escalating and escalating. And also, it's not helping that all these refugees that comes from Latin America and the Middle East, they are very, I don't want to be too harsh, but They are involved in crimes, in gangs and drugs and cartels and so on. So it doesn't help among the local people. It's going to create even more animosity between these different races. Okay, so if this is also presuming that if things continues to get worse and worse, okay, who knows, by some miracle, maybe somebody is going to put an end to this, and maybe there's not going to be a civil war. Hopefully, I hope I'm being proven wrong anyway, just for the sake of humanity. Okay, but going back to what he was saying, if a civil war is really coming, especially in America, I don't think America will be at a position to effectively defend Israel. I agree with him. I think at some point America will be pushed out of the Middle East. What I dis oh, also I just want to say I also agree with his analysis on Europe and Russia, and also China and Japan as well. I feel like at some point they're gonna go to war. Okay, because of Taiwan. Taiwan is going to be really important. America getting really busy at home, fighting civil wars and so on. They're not going to get involved with China. They probably will send some troops, but it's going to be Japan that will do most of the heavy fighting. Okay. But anyway, going back to the Middle East. Okay, he was saying that Israel is going to win this war. They are going to control the Middle East. This is where I disagree with him, okay? Because I don't think Israel can. I mean, like the justification he gave later on, he did even give explain more about why Israel wants to win the Middle East so much, because he was saying that Israel want the Greater Israel project, then they will have access to oil, and the Middle East have a lot of oil resources, and they are going to be more and more powerful in the future, controlling a lot of the sea as well. Okay, but anyway, what I disagree with him is that I don't think that will happen unless the US goes all out to help Israel win this war. Which, in the scenario he provided, and I agree with him, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the US will be too busy fighting wars at their own turf. Okay, so it's going to be Israel alone, and Israel is not going to get any help from the European Union anyway, because the European Union will also be busy fighting wars at home. Okay, so my prediction is Israel is not going to survive in the Middle East. Okay, now people have been saying that Israel has very advanced military and so on, which is true, but also we must remember they don't have enough manpower. Okay, they don't have enough people to join the military. I mean, like, they don't have enough men to begin with. Now they're recruiting a lot of women inside the military. So they don't have the manpower. How are they going to fight? I mean, like, the idea that they're going to have greater Israel, you know, invading multiple countries, Saudi Arabia and Syria, Lebanon, parts of Turkey and Iraq. I think that's it. Probably more. Jordan, okay. Jordan as well. So the idea that such a tiny country with such a small military can beat all this country with hundreds of millions of population doesn't make sense to me, okay? Do remember that America failed to invade Afghanistan, which is believed to have very primitive technology back in 2003. America with such advanced weaponries cannot beat the Taliban with such primitive technologies. Okay. Now, of course, Israel has very advanced technology, but at the same time, we must remember this is the Middle East in 2025. Okay, this is no longer the Middle East back in the early 2000s where they have primitive technologies. Okay, Turkey has very advanced military right now. Okay, they've been producing drones that has been praised as very high quality and so on. Okay, they also have very big defense industry in Turkey. Iran has already all the military infrastructure, the weapons, the missile, and so on. They have everything intact. Okay, they are prepared for this. Okay, this is Middle East 2025. This is not Middle East 2003. And then not to mention countries like Arabia. Okay, I mean like probably not the most advanced in the Middle East, but they also have quite a strong military. Okay, so you expect me for such a tiny country to be able to conquer this multiple country? Iran alone with US assistance, probably Israel can conquer. You know, the idea that even with American military and American technology, I don't think Greater Israel is ever going to happen. Okay, I mean, like America and Israel versus Iran, maybe they can beat them. But America and Israel versus Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, I don't think so. And do remember that I think a few months ago I saw a newspaper headline where the article was saying that there was a meeting between Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, and a couple of months later, Turkey also had a meeting with Iran. Okay, this time around doesn't include Saudi Arabia, but it shows that these countries they're starting to work together. You know, because you know what they have finally realized, why are we fighting against each other, Sunni or Shia, which is nonsense to begin with. But why are we fighting against each other when there is a much bigger threat just right over there? You know, and they want to conquer all of our countries. They want to conquer Mecca. Okay, they said it. They want to conquer Mecca. Well, not they. One rabbi. I forgot what the name of the rabbi, but the Israeli government doesn't claim that. Doesn't claim that. Okay. So, you know, which is a bigger threat? Does Turkey see Iran as a bigger threat or Israel? At this point, you know, it's starting to get serious. Now they're stealing borders in Syria, Golan Heights. They have gained control of that. And they want more. You can see Benjamin Netanyahu no longer hides it. I mean, like, what was that? The UN conference or something like that? He has a picture of Greater Israel. He was holding it. They have become that bold. Okay. But I do believe that that's not the end goal for them. They do not want Greater Israel, and they know it's not achievable. As I said from my previous video, and also this is where I feel like the professor is wrong. I feel like their end goal is not Greater Israel. Their end goal is the new Kazeria, the new Israel in Ukraine. Why do you think there is a war there to begin with? If you guys have been a regular follower of my channel, you probably know that I have already come up with this theory that Israel has been trying to steal Ukrainian land for a couple of years already. And to those of you who thinks that Russia or Putin is a hero, no, he is not. Okay. And to those of you who thinks, oh, China is the good guy, no. Do I think the West is the good guy? Absolutely not. Both of them are just acting. All of them, all of the world government. I'm not even convinced that Iran is actually real enemies with the US and Israel. I feel like this is just all an act. Okay. But anyway, going back to Ukraine. Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the world is a stage. Okay. I feel like what I mean, like I don't understand if Putin is really as good as people are saying he is to be, okay. I don't get why is he prolonging this war. He keeps on prolonging and prolonging and prolonging this war, okay. And I've heard a couple of people giving their justification because they don't trust the EU, they don't trust NATO, they are afraid that they are going if they did a negotiation with the EU or NATO again, at some point they are going to expand again into Ukraine, okay? But I don't see how conquering the entire country, unless you want to invade the country, and make it your own or your own area, your own region, okay? Well, that's not what he's planning to do. He's planning to conquer the whole country and put a Russian puppet there. But how is that helping? I mean, like, sooner or later, there's going to be an election, and probably they're gonna get dethroned again. They're gonna put another NATO puppet, okay? And this NATO puppet could eventually win. So I don't understand why he is prolonging this war, okay? Until I found out that he has a lot of. Oh, by the way, before I start, from now on, in order for me to address the race that starts from the words J and end with the word W, I'm going to call them Judy, okay? So I'm going to call them Judy, okay? Okay, so I found out that Putin has a lot of connection with a lot of Judys, and in particular, the Shabbat Lubavitch movement, okay? Now, I have seen what we call videos of this one rabbi. Right. So this rabbi, he was saying that 98% of all Judy is actually from Shabbat Lubavitch, Shabbat Lubavitch. Okay. So the Shabbat Lubavitch movement, I found out they are very extremist. You know, their most famous rabbi, they have belief in this something to do with the seventh rabbi from the starting point where they created this Shabbat Lubavitch movement. They believe that from the first up until the seventh is supposed to be the Messiah. Okay, so they believe that this rabbi, which is the most influential rabbi in Shabbat Lubavitch movement, called Rabbi Schneesen, is the Messiah. Okay, but this guy is already dead, and and the Messiah is still not showing himself, I guess. So they believe that this rabbi, he is going to be reincarnated at some point. Okay, reincarnated or resurrected, whatever you want to call it, okay? And this rabbi, Rabbi Schneesen, previously there was a leaked report that claims that he, back in the 90s, said that, this is before he died, by the way, said that the plan of Shabbat Lubavitch is to create a new Kazeria in Ukraine. They want to divide and conquer Ukraine, divide them by regions and so on, causing wars, depopulate the region, and then create a new Kaseria. And when you look at Putin, he is constantly being surrounded by this uh, Orthodox Judy, okay? And also this Orthodox Judy, they, according to this the rabbi that I just showed to you guys, 98% of them are from Shabbat Lubavitch. So I'm starting to wonder, is the reason why he keeps on prolonging this war is because he wants to depopulate Ukraine to make ways for new Kazaria? Could it be? I'm starting to think, yes, it's very possible, okay? And the reason why they want Ukraine so much is because Israel is no longer desirable. I mean, like, it's like a complete barren land over there, okay? You can't even grow anything. I mean, I guess you can grow olive oil and I don't know, orange or something, oranges, but it's not very fertile, you know. And they don't have a lot of resources. They have to import all these resources. Ukraine has a lot of minerals. Ukraine, especially southern Ukraine, they have one of the most agriculturally fertile land in the world, if not the most, okay? And it also has the Odessa port, which is very important for international trade, especially considering the One Belt, One Road project, upcoming One Belt, One Road project. I'm predicting that Odessa is going to be even more important than before, okay? So, why would you want to conquer Greater Israel, a complete barren land? I mean, like, probably you can have oil from Saudi Arabia, but, you know, the chances of you achieving the Greater Israel project is like one out of a billion, you know. In fact, in Ukraine, it's already achievable. Ukraine has already been depopulated, especially southern Ukraine. Watch my previous video where I was saying that it's weird how Zelensky did not allow Ukrainian men to leave the country for years. But suddenly there were reports that 15,000 men, young men from the age of 18 to 25, were allowed to cross to Poland. You get what I'm coming at? I feel like Zelensky purposely let them leave because you know what? Once you get rid of the men, you can conquer the land. You know, that's how you conquer a country. You invade a country, get rid of the men. And I believe a lot more men are going to leave Ukraine in coming years. Okay. So it's already on its way. I also showed from my previous video, I also said that it's very weird how Jared Kushner, a guy who has no business sitting at the negotiation table between Ukraine and Russia, the peace negotiation table, okay, why is he there? He's not a government official, he is not a civil servant, he's just a senior advisor. So why is he sitting doing foreign peace negotiation? And then Steve Witkoff, who is a special envoy, U.S. special envoy to the Middle East. Last time I checked, Ukraine is in Europe, not in the Middle East. So what the hell is he doing there? I tried to connect the dots from my previous video that Russia is clearing up the land. Steve Witkoff, with his knowledge of the Middle East and Israel, probably are discussing about the transfer of Judy from Israel to Ukraine. You see, he's the operation guy. Jared Kushner, the real estate guy, he is talking about reconstruction of Ukraine, you know, building up all these houses because you're going to have a lot of surge of Jews coming to Ukraine. So they're going to need homes, right? And also, I just read that Larry Finkel, is it Larry Finkel? I don't know what his name is. He is the CEO of BlackRock. Suddenly, the next day, he also wants to join negotiation. So he is going to be the financier. It's so obvious at this point, okay? Anyway, I also want to show you guys this video.
It's a military checkpoint. Добрый вечер. Sorry, I only speak English. I'm sorry.
You are Christian?
Christian.
Yeah. Просто турист, хай приїжджає.
Так.
Конечно. Ні, хай їде. Ну, мозгов.
Okay. It's okay? Okay.
Стопорнуть, куди він їде, ну, а що, відправити на другий блокпост, все буде так.
Yako, thank you. I'm up here. Well, I don't think up what's happening.
The freezing wind cuts through Gaza's camps, leaving families desperate for warmth. But with your help...
I'm sorry, I don't speak Ukrainian. English? I'm sorry. Hotel, sorry, English?
You go to Uman?
Uman for hotel, tak.
Where hotel?
I think it's here. Oh, sorry.
You country.
USA,
USA.
tak. Passport?
Hasid, yeah? Maybe, yeah, right. This passport.
Passport, okay.
Yeah. American,
Tak. What is this? Oh, only Jews are allowed in this area. Okay,
understand?
okay.
Maybe you go this and this.
Okay.
So what on earth is going on? Okay, to give some backstory from the video, that guy was traveling through Ukraine, and this was 3 years ago, mind you. Okay, he was traveling through Ukraine. Okay, and he went in the southern district where, not southern district, the southern region where most of the wars was ongoing. Okay, and he went to these certain areas. I believe he was traveling. He was going to Uman, a city called Uman. Okay, and they were saying only Jews are allowed to go in there. See, I told you. Why is it only Jews that are allowed to be in there? It's very weird. I mean, like, Ukraine is a Christian majority country, okay? The Jewish population of Ukraine is extremely tiny. So what do you mean by only Jews are allowed to enter certain areas? That doesn't even make sense. So I feel like this is already happening. Now, people might be asking me, what is the solution? Okay, I have a solution for you guys. Okay, I can't do anything here because I live in Malaysia, and Malaysia doesn't play any critical role in world governments and so on. Okay, but what I can advise to people living in the bigger countries like the US, Russia, China, and so on. Okay, do not buy into the government propagandas. Okay, they are going to justify a new war very soon. Okay, I feel like 2026 is going to be the start of many major wars. Okay, they are going to justify new wars. America is already justifying new war with Venezuela. So if you are an American and you are thinking about enlisting to the army, don't. Okay, if you are an American who is serving in the army right now and you are being instructed to go to war with Venezuela, don't go there. Okay, you know already. I already enlist this. This all are very evil plan. Do you want to go to war and killing people willy nilly for the most ridiculous reason ever? Go to war, and for what? For evil purposes? If you still go to war and you know exactly what you signed up for, then I can only say one thing to you: shame on you. Okay, shame on you. So people are going to say, well, if you quit the army during wartime and so on, you might go to jail. Fine, go to jail. I mean, like, there is a bigger court up there that you are going to be accountable to once you died. Okay, so you might suffer whatever consequences you have to on earth, but by quitting and going to jail in the world, you're going to avoid a much more brutal jail, much more brutal punishment in your afterlife. Okay, so don't buy into this propaganda. If you're a Russian, if you are from Russia and the government is looking for a soldier and so on, do not enlist. If you're a soldier in Russia, quit. Same goes to Iran, Israel. I don't know, Iran. Maybe it's justifiable because they want to defend their country, right? Okay, fine. But the instigator countries from that is instigating all these wars do not join. Okay. Oh, and one last thing that I forgot to mention just now is that don't you find it weird how China started creating all this trade networking, One Belt One Road, or OBO network, at a time when the US is about to crumble, the economy is about to crumble, the empire is about to crumble. I find it weird. And I think they're only doing this because it's going to benefit Israel in the future. Okay. I feel like China has already been infiltrated by Judies. And putting Israel next to Russia will make them even more powerful than ever before. First of all, the region in Ukraine is going, the southern region in Ukraine is very rich in it's very agriculturally fertile, and Ukraine is very rich in minerals and so on. Okay, that's that, and it's going to be strategic trade. It is going to be strategic geographically when it comes to trade. Okay, Odessa is going to be very important if this One Belt One Road project goes through. Okay, so New Israel is going to be extremely rich. Okay, and the professor also Professor Jiang also brings out some very interesting point that he believed that perhaps ChatGPT and Google and Palantir and so on, they will relocate to Israel at some point, because considering how bad the distraction in America is going to be, they probably need a new headquarters. And Ukraine, New Israel is going to be safe from all of that because you have Russia located next to you. America cannot defend Israel in the Middle East effectively because it is thousands of miles away. Okay. But Russia, New Israel, located next to Russia, wow. They are going to be able to effectively defend you. And Russia is well versed with the geography surrounding that area. Okay. I mean, like, they already know the terrains in Central Asia, Eastern Europe, and so on, because this used to be the Soviet Union. So, no neighboring countries is going to be effectively a threat to either Russia or New Israel. So, Europe will be put to its knees, okay, with Israel being located so next to them. So you guys better be prepared. Do not buy into the government propagandas. Do not go to war, okay? If you're already in the army, quit, okay? Anyway, if you like this kind of content, kindly subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, kindly press the like video and also leave some comment. Until we see you again, bye-bye.